Hi, my name is Brennan Clark, and I've chosen to discuss the case of the morally challenged AP clerk. I just wanted to give a brief synopsis about this case before we get started. This case revolves around a guy named John who was just hired as the CFO of a new company that is about to go public. So they're preparing for their IPO. A few months into his time with the company, he was approached to by the controller, Diana, who had told him of an investment of over $250,000 by one of the AP clerks of the company. Diana and John kind of talked about it, and they decided that they should kind of report this to the police. But a few weeks later, John was called into the CEO's office, and the CEO basically told them to brush it under the rug, that they didn't need to report this to the police, so it didn't have any effect on the IPO of the company. And then John was kind of faced with this moral dilemma on what should he do. Should he kind of go and tell this to the police, or should he follow the instructions of the CEO? Now to review a few of the questions that it goes over in the case, it says, to whom are John and David owe their responsibility? And that would be, first of all, the public, since they are about to have their initial public offering. They're about to start doing and releasing the financial statement for the public, so they're responsible to them. And then second, to themselves. They need to be morally ethical, and especially the CFO, as a CPA, he does need to follow that guideline and maintain a high standard of ethics. The second question that I asked is, if they agree not to report the embezzlement to the police, are they in violation of the AICPA Code of Conduct? And the answer to that question is yes. In the AICPA Code of Conduct, it does talk about a level of integrity that does need to be maintained, and it talks about that they need to be honest and true and comply with full disclosure to kind of keep that level of integrity. It also talks about due care in the AICPA Code of Conduct, and basically that means that they need to do everything that they can for the purpose of the public, for the purpose of the customers of the company, and especially where they are about to have an IPO, their main responsibilities to the public. So they have a responsibility to fully disclose all of the incidents that have happened within the company. And then it does say, how can John approach the situation with David? David has told them not to discuss this with the police, and John feels very strongly that he should discuss this with the police, that would be the right thing to do ethically and for the company. I think two ways that he could approach the situation with David is bring up the ICPA Code of Conduct and say that they do need to maintain their integrity and go through their due care to report this to the police and take the proper procedures to make sure that they're fulfilling those requirements. And then maybe discuss the future problems that they could see. If they do go through with the IPO and then this does come up at a later date, that could be disastrous for the company. The stock price could tank, people could sell out of their shares, and that could be very disastrous. And I think that could be a good thing that would help sway David to make the right decision and report this to the police. Who does John have for support? That is another one of the questions that I asked in the case study. I think one person would be Diane, the controller. She basically said from the very beginning that she wanted to report this to the police. And I think if it got to the extent where they needed to go even beyond the controller's point of view, they could bring it up to the board of directors. They don't want to leapfrog over David, but that could be another opportunity. I think they'd lean on that side of caution. And then what should John do if David orders him to drop the matter? I think one thing that David needs to definitely do is stand his ground, for sure, maintain that high level of moral ethics, maybe refer to the Code of Conduct again, and those future problems, reiterate that to David, and maybe talk about the potential disasters that they could see. And then at worst case, if that doesn't happen, say that he is not comfortable going through with this and that he would like to bring it up to the board of the directors and see where that takes the situation. In conclusion, this is a very tough moral dilemma, but I do believe that the right decision is to report this to the police, as John has thought from the very beginning, and just keep that level of moral ethics. This class is an ethics class, and us as CPAs, we do need to maintain that high level of moral ethics, maintain our integrity, maintain our honesty, and do everything that we can to not only maintain that level for us, but